Hello, everybody, and welcome to That Hashtag Show. I am Hunter Bolding, and we are here with Andy and Taylor Newton, the Newton brothers. They worked on X-Men 97, and we're here to talk all about their work and what they've accomplished with this show. And have they accomplished a whole lot? Yes, they have. So I'll just start it off with the question that I know everybody's going to ask. How did it feel to remix that classic, iconic theme for the X-Men the Animated Series?
I mean, it was terrifying, I would say. That's the first, I mean, loads of excitement, but like lots of terror to like not screw this up, like
hmm
um dad throwing you the keys to the car when you're 12 and saying like, take the whatever epic car around the block. Like, yeah, there's just a lot of like pressure to not do the wrong thing. And I think that like that theme is iconic. It's a perfect piece of music for loads of technical reasons, but also reasons that just like stab you in the soul. So I think that like in the best way. And I think that yeah, it was, that terror just we kind of leaned into that terror by working on several versions like right from the get-go to see sort of what would land because the only way out of that terror is to like massage the terror with like work. So kind of did that and just dove into it with the team, and there's a great team on this show, so they were really helpful with sort of steering the ship and telling us, take the double black diamond this way and then go, get sit in the chalet and have a hot chocolate and think about your decision. So it was a lot of fun.
So how did you guys balance like not wanting to change too much from it, but wanting to add your own personal flair to it, obviously, because they wanted a new theme for a new show that does sort of add on to the previous series, but expands it in a new way.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think multiple versions was always the answer to that. We did several variations to see kind of what the temperature was and how everybody was responding to the theme and how everybody felt about it. And that's what's great is we would get feedback constantly. Is this too nostalgic? Is this too modern? And in the end, we all decided what we have now, which is just we wanted to just slightly change and slightly do some variations to an already iconic theme. And I think that's great because if we had done something super modern, it wouldn't have felt like obviously a continuation from the original. It
Mhm.
just would have felt out of. So I think that was we had to sort of come to that conclusion through doing multiple versions.
Yeah, and I think like removing 100% of your ego from the equation, and looking at it from 30,000 feet and going like, cool, this track, this track is awesome. Like let's stay in that lane and we'll just kind of update some things and and go from there.
So outside of the theme, obviously, that's the thing that everybody's going to be talking about. Everybody has been talking about. Are there any other tracks that from the series throughout that you guys are really proud of, particularly, or that you guys want people to notice or talk about a little bit more?
I think like
Yeah,
I think from the stuff that's already aired, I think like Storm and Magneto are two sort of themes that are out there right now that we're really proud of and happy with sort of how they turned out. And a lot of that came down to the characters, that we were writing them for because their story arcs, even in these first four episodes, are really excellent. And it really draws you in as anyone who has like a heartbeat is going to be interested in both of their stories.
So you guys have done a lot of horror movies. You guys have done the music for like every Mike Flanagan project. You guys have done plenty of other horror movies out there. How does it compare doing like a horror movie sort of theme or soundtrack to something like X-Men 97?
it's wildly different. I mean, I think just for a lot of dark or thrillers, there's a lot of moments of quiet and silence and pause before something happens, and as one would be. But I think in something like this, there's just isn't time for that. We don't have time to so much happens, and one, a huge fight sequence and all of a sudden someone dies or something tragic happens. And I think just the constant shifting, going back and forth, is very different than you would be in a more of a cinematic approach where you have a lot of real estate to give time before something happens.
Um, so you guys obviously 4 episodes have aired as of this interview. Are there any tracks that you guys are looking forward to in the upcoming episodes that you might want people to sort of take notice of or listen for?
Oh, I want to tell you so many things off of that.
Oh,
But I feel like Skylar will come through with a dull object and stab me in the throat if I say if I there are we're very excited for the upcoming. There's a lot coming up that we're very excited about, and I think that we've kind of yeah, I'll leave it at that. I will say, like, this most recent episode, episode 4, was kind of a wild, like, whirlwind, like diving into the whole, like, oh, let's produce a video game sound using the main theme, like
mhm.
the 8-bit version of, like, the main theme was really fun. Like, we were all joking about, like, it should be like a ringtone, like the 8-bit with Jubilee running around. It was just a lot of fun to work on that. And then to have that juxtaposed with, like, what's happening with Storm and Forge, it's just like such a fun difference of situations. Yeah, I know that doesn't totally answer your question, but
It does and it doesn't, because it gives sort of that feeling of, okay, well, we've got something to look forward to that you guys are definitely excited about. So I appreciate the answer, but not specific answer. So
I'm
that's
so
good.
sorry. But
No,
we'll
that's
yeah.
perfectly fine. I appreciate that because it helps, with the hype of wanting to see more from this. So you guys were talking about the process that you went through with this show, uh, and just can you go through that a little bit? Like, where did you guys start? How did the sort of collaboration, I guess, with Marvel and with Disney on this? How did that start off with or start out?
Well, we heard about the show and we really wanted to sort of get on the list of people that we consider and we ended up demoing actually, and the demos they liked the demos and that sort of opened the doors to other opportunities. And then once we came on board and we were attached, we then just started writing themes and developing it. Um, and uh, and then from there it just kept blossoming and blossoming into what we have today. But that's kind of where it started from. That's kind of how we got into it. Was just we straight up demoed and we were lucky enough to hit something. You never know.
Yeah, and it's interesting in those demos because once we were on board, the entire team kind of mentioned something to us because they had already been on for months working on it, if not years. But what they said to us was, "Hey guys, just be aware that what you remember the show to be and what it was and is, they're all different things." So, which we of course were like, oh yeah, yeah, of course. And then as we started actually writing music, we started to understand what they're saying, right? Because in theory, you're like, oh, it's got this sound and it is this thing. But then what that actually means when, like, you're sitting in the studio making noise becomes a completely different thing. And that played into the demos because we weren't given much info. It was just like, here's the show, like I don't th Taylor, were we given any direction? Just kind of like, here's some animatics, like go, right?
Not a lot. Not a lot. No.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was the first time we recognized that, like, we talked about it a lot, but then it's like at a certain point you just have to start recording things. And as you start recording things, things become very obvious. Like, oh, we think a synthesizer is going to work for this. And you start to use an old synth sound for this thing, and you're like, wow, that's terrible. That doesn't work at all. And then it's about sort of navigating that road, which was yeah, a learning experience the whole way.
So that'll do it for this interview. Thank you to Andy and Taylor for taking the time out of their busy schedules of working on X-Men 97, in addition to all the other projects that they have. So thank you guys, and watch X-Men 97 on Disney Plus.
Thanks a lot,
Thanks,
Hunter.
Hunter.